Hello and welcome. Tonight we drift backward through time, back to a world of marble and dust, of quiet stone valleys and distant echoing footsteps, to the ancient Roman Empire, where water flowed in gravity's gentle embrace, across hills and valleys, through channels carved by hand, and hands left raw by the carving. This journey isn't hurried, no triumphs to cheer, no chariots to chase, just the long, slow rhythm of human effort, and the quiet hum of a civilization that engineered the impossible. Tonight we will walk beneath arches. We will stand beside sleeping volcanoes. We will hold in our hands strange objects no one can explain, and we will settle among steam and stillness in the marble heart of Roman luxury. But first, imagine yourself in a stony trench, the sky a bright strip overhead, the air thick with lime dust and heat. You are a Roman aqueduct worker. Let's begin there. Life as a Roman aqueduct worker carves stone channels, measure gradients with crude tools, and sleep under scaffolding. The stone is warm beneath your fingers. It always is, this time of year. The sun beats down on the hills outside of the city, where the aqueduct stretches unfinished like a dry riverbed of carved stone. You blink the dust from your eyes. A mule walks past you slowly, dragging a sled of limestone blocks. Its hooves stir up more dust. No one speaks. No one has energy for that, not at midday. This is your life, not as a senator or soldier or merchant, but as a builder, one of thousands, each of you anonymous, each of you vital. Without your work, Rome does not drink. The morning begins. You rise with the sun, if you've slept at all. The night air bites at your shoulders as you pull your tunic tighter, already gritty with yesterday's sweat. Your sleeping place is simple. A rolled blanket under a half-built arch, a wooden scaffold groaning in the breeze. Somewhere far from the marble of the city, there's no breakfast waiting. Perhaps a crust of coarse bread if you remembered to pocket it from the mess camp. Water is rationed, ironically given the nature of your work. The foreman calls out. He always calls out the same way. No pleasantries, just a name and a location. Today, it's gradient checking. You sigh softly. Your back already aches in anticipation. Measuring the invisible. The most invisible part of your job is also the most important. Water will not flow uphill, so the aqueduct must always descend, very slightly, across miles of uneven terrain. A single mistake in the angle could mean disaster. A dry fountain, a stagnant pool, an entire section disassembled and begun again. You measure using an awkward-looking frame, called a chorobates, a level beam balanced by sightlines and plumb bobs. It's delicate and your hands are not. You crouch, aligning shadows and strings, feeling your heartbeat in your knees. Someone sneezes. Dust hangs in the air like fog. You mark the slope with a dull iron tool. There is no applause. This is mathematics by sweat and instinct, and when the measurements are done, the carving begins. Carving the channel. Some stones are already quarried. Others wait, half buried in the hillside like sleeping beasts. You and your team take turns. Picks, chisels, hammers. Each strike sends a jolt up your arms like lightning in slow motion. The sound is rhythmic and somehow calming once you surrender to it. Chink, chink, chink. Sometimes the stone resists. Sometimes it cracks too easily. Sometimes it rains and you must stop entirely. Other times there's a deadline, and you keep working through the drizzle as mud creeps into your sandals and the sky lowers like a closing door. At midday you sit on a block of unfinished stone and chew olives or dried figs if you're lucky. There is little talk, just the sound of water, ironically again, trickling somewhere from a cracked storage barrel nearby. You dream of cold fountains. Life beneath the arch. The aqueduct begins to grow, stone by stone, layer by layer, each block carefully placed, sealed with mortar made from volcanic ash and lime. Opus cementicium, the Romans call it. A magical mixture that hardens even underwater. Sometimes you work on scaffolding high above the earth. Below you, The river. Above you, a sky so bright it hurts to look at. You sleep beneath the arches at night. Their shadows stretch like fingers across the camp. You listen to the low murmur of other workers. A cough. A song sung half-heartedly. A prayer to an unfamiliar god. The work never ends. When the aqueduct is built, your work isn't done. Now comes the maintenance. Cracks must be patched, silt cleared, sections cleaned. You lower yourself into narrow inspection shafts by rope, with only a torch and your own breath for company. It is dark. It smells of wet limestone and moss. Sometimes there are rats, sometimes snakes. Always there is silence. You move slowly. You listen for drips, for echoes, for the soft gurgle that means everything is still flowing. A lifetime in stone. You do this for years. Your body changes, stooped, lean, calloused. Your fingers curve around invisible tools even in your sleep. You begin to dream of water flowing just out of reach. And then, one day, you are done. The aqueduct arches stretch toward the city. Children play beneath them. Merchants draw buckets from fountains you helped fill. Your name will not be remembered, but the water flows, smoothly, silently. You exhale and sleep beneath stone. The eruption of Vesuvius, Pompeii's longest day. A slow, suffocating descent as the ash fell and time stood still. The sun is already high in the sky, and the streets of Pompeii hum with familiar routines. Children chase wooden hoops along the paving stones. Bakers stoke their ovens. A slave washes yesterday's wine from the mosaic floor of a modest domus. The smell of rising bread mingles with the sharper tang of olive oil and open drains. It is a warm day. There is a light breeze from the direction of Mount Vesuvius, though no one calls it that yet. It is just the mountain. A background shape. A familiar silhouette on the skyline. And today it seems quiet, but not entirely. A few birds have gone silent. A dog paces in uneasy circles near the fountain, and the air, it has a heaviness to it, as if the sky is preparing to speak. But for now, life continues. A normal morning. Imagine yourself in a modest courtyard house, its open atrium letting in the late morning light. You pour water into a shallow bronze basin, washing the dust from your hands. A fig rests on the table. Outside, you hear a fruit seller call out his prices. Nearby, someone is tuning a lyre. The city is alive, but gently so. Calm, predictable. Pompeii is not Rome. Here, things move at a slower pace. More provincial. The villas are colorful, the walls painted in reds and ochres. The streets, though worn, are orderly. The taverns are busy but not loud. Life flows easily. But in the distance, the mountain stirs. The first sign. It begins not with fire, but with a sound, a low, groaning rumble, not unlike thunder, but deeper, longer, as if the earth itself is exhaling after holding its breath. And then, a sudden shiver in the air, a tremor beneath the feet. Nothing violent, just enough to make a bowl tremble on its shelf, enough to still conversations for a moment, then silence again. People glance at the mountain. A thin plume of smoke rises from its peak. Pale at first, then grayer, denser, spiraling upward, unnaturally straight. Some pause, others do not. After all, the earth often shivers, the gods are often moody, and life, as always, goes on. Ash begins to fall. But now the smoke darkens, the wind shifts, and from above, a strange dust begins to drift down. At first, it's just a sprinkling, like flour falling from a sieve. Light and gray and curious, it settles on rooftops and shoulders. People laugh nervously. Children catch it in their hands. But then it thickens. It becomes gritty, coarse. It sticks to the skin, it stings the eyes. You wipe it from your arms only to find your fingers blackened. The sky begins to dim. Not from clouds, but from the ash itself. Growing denser, heavier, blotting out the sun. Shutters close. Lamps are lit indoors, though it's still afternoon. The city's soundscape begins to change. No more laughter, no more music. Just footsteps now. And coughing. Panic spreads slowly. You step outside and look toward the mountain. Where once stood a peak, there is now only a towering column, black and mushroom-shaped, climbing endlessly into the sky. Some begin to run. Others kneel in prayer. Most simply watch, frozen, as if unable to comprehend the pace at which their world is shifting. And the ash keeps falling. Within hours, rooftops begin to sag under its weight. The air becomes thick, difficult to breathe. People tear cloth to cover their mouths. Livestock cry out and break from their pens. Still, no lava, no fire, just ash. And silence, broken only by the occasional crash of tiles giving way. Darkness at noon. It is midday, but the sky is black. The ash has become a storm. Each breath is heavy. The city disappears under its own weight. Some people flee toward the sea. Others stay, trapped by illness, by fear, by disbelief. They shelter in basements, in temples, in wine cellars. You can hear them, soft prayers, whispering, children whimpering. The world has shrunk to a room lit by oil lamps. Your lungs burn. The air smells of sulfur, of burnt wool and wet stone. Then comes the first pyroclastic surge. It is not a river of lava, as you might expect. It is a wave of superheated gas and ash, moving faster than sound. It sweeps across the land in total silence until it arrives, and when it does not scream. It hushes. The end is still. The next morning there is no Pompeii. The ash has cooled into soft gray stone. Roof lines are buried, doors sealed shut. A city in mid-breath, perfectly preserved in stillness. A loaf of bread remains in the oven. A dog lies curled in a hallway. A man sits at a writing desk, his pen paused just above the parchment. They do not know they've become history. The sea, once distant, now laps closer. Birds return, grass begins to push through the pale dust. And the mountain is quiet again. The forgotten city centuries pass. The world forgets Pompeii. Fields are planted where villas once stood. Stories become myths. And the ash grows hard, like concrete, sealing the city in time. Until one day a shovel scrapes stone. A fresco is revealed. A body-shaped void is filled with plaster. And the city speaks again. Quietly. A frozen moment. A long day. The longest day Pompeii ever lived. The mystery of the Roman dodecahedrons. 12-sided bronze relics no one can explain. Time to guess quietly. Imagine you are walking through a quiet museum. Your footsteps are muffled by the carpeted floor. The lights are low, soft, respectful of the centuries held here. You come to a small glass case. Inside sits something strange. Something small. Something quietly puzzling. A hollow object. Bronze worn with age. About the size of a clenched fist. It has 12 flat sides, each with a hole at its center. At each corner, a small rounded knob, like delicate eyes watching in every direction. You tilt your head. So do the others around you. Even the museum plaque says only, dodecahedron, Roman period, purpose unknown. And just like that, you are drawn into the quietest of Roman mysteries. Discovered, but not explained. Roman dodecahedrons have been found scattered across the ancient empire, mostly in what was once northern Gaul, now parts of modern France, Germany, and Britain. They date roughly to the 2nd or 3rd century CE. No two are exactly alike. Some are smooth, others are engraved. Most are made of bronze, a few of iron. None are labeled, none are explained. They rest now in drawers and displays across Europe, not quite fitting into any category. They are not coins, not jewelry, not weapons, not clearly religious, and not mentioned in any Roman writing anywhere, which is unusual. The Romans wrote about everything. What could they be? So the guessing begins. Slow, thoughtful guessing. Some say they were candle holders. But the holes don't align. Others imagine them as dice. But their shape is awkward, and they're too precious to be tossed. Knitting tools, some propose, perhaps for weaving gloves. A clever idea. Some even recreated this. But again, there's no mention of it in any text, no matching tools, no supportive context. Still others suggest surveying instruments. The different hole sizes could measure angles or sight lines. Some imagine Roman engineers holding them up against distant hills, aligning them with the sun. But no such tool is described in Roman manuals. None matches this odd, symmetric geometry. Some dream bigger. Astronomical devices, star charts, a primitive astrolabe, a toy, a riddle, a talisman. One researcher even suggested it was a device to determine the best planting time, calculating the equinox based on sunlight angles. A lovely theory, but still, just that. A quiet symbol? Perhaps we're overthinking. Some believe these dodecahedrons were symbolic, objects of personal reflection or local ritual, meant to be held, turned, considered. Imagine yourself in a quiet Roman household, seated beside a flickering lamp. You lift the dodecahedron in your hand. Its shape is balanced, its surface cool. It rolls gently between your palms, like a worry stone. Perhaps its purpose was not practical, but meditative. A physical manifestation of time or geometry or the 12 gods, or the 12 months, or the 12 winds, or nothing at all. Perhaps it was made simply because it was beautiful, and because someone could. Repetition in the silence. And so, we return to that museum case. You gaze into it again, knowing no more than before. But now, more curious than ever. The dodecahedron does not shout. It does not demand answers. It simply is. A mystery made of metal. A silent thing from a loud empire. Proof that even Rome had its riddles. You imagine one sitting on a desk in a Roman villa, its edges catching candlelight, its knobs casting tiny shadows against the wall. A conversation piece, or a spiritual object, or a child's toy. You smile softly. In the end, we may never know. And perhaps that is the point. Inside a patrician bathhouse, marble benches, steamy silence, oil scraping. Explore elite hygiene as ritual. The door closes behind you with a soft, hollow thud. The air shifts. Warmth brushes your skin. The light changes, from the harsh sun of the streets to the dappled golden glow of interior lamps reflecting off pale stone. You are inside a Roman bathhouse. Not the crowded, noisy sort found in every neighborhood, but a patrician's bath, a private world of marble, murmurs, and heat, reserved for Rome's wealthy few. This is not merely about cleaning the body. It is about ritual, about status, about silencing the outside world and sinking into something slower and deeper. Let your shoulders loosen. Breathe in the warm, herb-scented air. Let's stay a while. Entering the bathhouse. You walk slowly along a mosaic floor, tiles cool beneath your bare feet. Around you, stone columns rise toward a coffered ceiling. Lamps flicker on bronze brackets. The voices here are soft, barely louder than the dripping of water from unseen pipes. You pass through the apoditerium, the changing room. Wooden benches line the walls. Slaves help remove sandals, fold tunics, carefully hang jewelry in small wall niches. It is quiet, not silent, but reverently quiet. Even conversation is hushed. Here, in this controlled world of warmth and ritual, noise would feel like a disruption. You are handed a thin cloth and nothing more. The tepidarium. Your first stop is the tepidarium, the warm room. It is gently heated by hippocausts. Hollow spaces beneath the floors where wood fires burn in distant chambers, warming the stone from below. You sit on a curved bench. The walls are decorated with frescoes. Mythological scenes, faded but graceful. Steam coils gently around your shoulders. Here, there is no hurry. You breathe, you sweat. You feel the warmth working into your muscles. A slave offers a small flask of perfumed oil. You tip some into your hand. Rub it into your arms, your chest, your temples. There is no soap in this world, only oil. The strigil and the servant. When the skin is slick and warm, the strigil is brought out. It is a curved blade of bronze or iron, not sharp, but firm. Your servant begins at your shoulder, dragging the strigil slowly along your oiled skin. It scrapes away sweat, dirt, and oil in a thin, dark film. There is something meditative about the motion, a slow repetition, down the back, across the arms, along the thighs. The servant works in silence, only the sound of oil being wiped into a cloth, the metal gliding against flesh. You feel lighter, clean, not just in the body, but in the mind. The caldarium, then the caldarium, the hot room. The air here is thick, nearly opaque. Your skin prickles instantly. The floor is hot beneath your feet. Stone benches circle a central bath of steaming water, its surface gently rippling in the dim glow. You ease yourself into it. The water holds you. Everything slows. All sound is muted here. Steam dampens the world. Voices sound like murmurs in a dream. Time dissolves into warmth. Here, senators and philosophers, generals and poets. None of them shout. None command. They sit, soak, drift. All are equal under the steam. The frigidarium. At last you rise, your body feels boneless, heavy with calm. You step into the frigidarium, the cold room. It is a jolt, a quiet one. The marble here is pale, the air is crisp, the pool still and cold. You slip in, your body tightens, then slowly relaxes again. It is an awakening, a final note in this symphony of temperature. Oils, towels, and silence. Afterward, you are handed thick towels. More oil is offered, fragrant, perhaps with myrrh or cedar. Your skin is soft. Your limbs feel distant, floating. You dress slowly. Your servant helps tie your sandals. Outside, the city waits, loud, dusty, busy. But you are not yet ready to return. You linger in the atrium. A marble fountain trickles gently nearby. You sip cooled wine from a bronze cup. The walls echo faintly with footsteps, like the fading rhythm of a distant drum. More, then clean. The Roman bathhouse was never just about washing, it was about rhythm. Heat, scrape, soak, cool, rest. It was the body, cared for like a temple. It was a ritual against chaos, a moment of control, of balance. Even emperors found peace here. Even philosophers, even tired men and women whose names have vanished from marble records. You leave the bathhouse not clean, but realigned, polished, inside and out. And as the door closes behind you once more, the warmth seems to follow, the quiet flow of forgotten lives. And now, we return, not to the roar of Rome or the blaze of Vesuvius, but to stillness, to now, to the gentle hush of your own breath, the quiet rhythm of your own heart. Tonight, we walked through tunnels of time. We carved stone beneath the sun, measuring by hand and sleeping beneath scaffolds. We stood under the blackening sky of Pompeii, watching time freeze in falling ash. We held in our palm a riddle from the past, a dodecahedron, quietly waiting for meaning. And we lingered in the steam of a patrician bath, where marble and heat blurred the line between body and spirit. These were not the histories of emperors or conquests, not battles, not triumphs, but the slow, steady stories of those who lived, worked, bathed, and breathed, whose names are lost, but whose marks remain. Because history does not only echo in ruins and monuments, it also rests in the small, quiet things. A smoothed-out hand tool, a sleeping city beneath stone, a strange bronze object no one understands. And perhaps that is enough. Let the aqueducts flow in your imagination. Let the ash fall gently. Let the strigil scrape away the day's burdens. Let sleep come as it did for those before us, in silence, under stone, beside the soft trickle of forgotten fountains. Good night, traveler of the past. Sleep well, and when you wake, The aqueducts will still be flowing, somewhere in time.